Hey, look, guys. You hear me talk about it on Facebook all the time. And so while we're in Duluth, my very good friend Matt borrowed us his truck so we could go around and see some things. There's just really one thing right now that I care to see, and it's her. More than 3 months after the Michipicoten sustained a rupture to its hull on Lake Superior, the Canadian-flagged bulk carrier remains dockside in Superior, Wisconsin at Fraser's Shipyard. We spent a fair amount of time with her and the Ryerson, who will have its own episode here as well, but right now, let's get into it. Michipicoten, named Elton Hoyt II when she entered service in 1952, is a self-discharging lake freighter owned and operated by Canadian shipping firm Lower Lakes Towing. Michipicoten primarily hauls taconite from Marquette, Michigan to the Algoma steel mill in Sault Ste. Marie. She has a capacity of 22,300 tons, a speed of 14 miles per hour, and a length of 689 feet 6 inches. She was built in 1952 by Massachusetts Heavy Industries in Quincy, Massachusetts. She was one of 3 vessels built to similar plans for the Interlake Steamship Company. Over the course of the next nearly 2 decades, the Elton Hoyt No. 2 entered a pattern of shipping iron ore from Duluth, Minnesota or Superior, Wisconsin to a number of ports in the lower Great Lakes. Throughout the 1950s, Elton Hoyt II had an incident-free career. In 1957, she was lengthened by 72 feet, increasing her total length to 698 feet 6 inches. The lengthening also increased her capacity to around 23,000 tons. In 1966, the Elton Hoyt II was sold to Pickens, Mather and Company. She remained in their fleet until 1973. 23 years later, in 1980, Elton Hoyt again upgraded, this time in a conversion to a self-unloading vessel. She was converted at the Toledo-based American Shipbuilding Company. In 1985, Johnstown, which had not been converted to a self-unloader, was sold for scrap. The third ship, Sparrows Point, was converted in 1980 and sailed as the Buckeye until 2008, when that ship sustained severe damage to her engines and shortly after was converted again by Rand Logistics Lower Lake Towing Company into the barge Menominee, leaving Elton Hoyt II the last fully functional member of her class. Throughout the 1980s and the 1990s, the Elton Hoyt II saw varied use. For some seasons, she did not sail. In the 1990s, the vessel was certified to carry grain and made several trips to Buffalo, New York, in addition to her regular loads of taconite. On April 10, 2003, it was announced that the Elton Hoyt II was sold to Lower Lakes Towing, a Canadian shipping company. She was renamed Michipicoten after the Canadian river of the same name. The Michipicoten means big bluffs in the Ojibwa language and refers to the hills near the river. She was christened on May 24, 2003 in Sarnia, Ontario. The ship began supplying taconite to the Algoma Steel Mill in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. In December 2010, Michipicoten was laid up in Sarnia, and over the course of several months, her steam turbine system was replaced with a Mack 6M32C 6-cylinder 8,160 brake horsepower diesel engine, and a new pitch propeller. The cost of the upgrade was around $15 million US. On June 8, 2024, the ship observed hull damage while traveling near Isle Royale in Lake Superior. The ship's crew reported hearing a loud bang while the vessel was in deep water. The ship began taking on water and at one point reached a 15-degree list. The crew was able to issue a distress call and start pumps that alleviated the list to 5 degrees. The distress call was met by the MV Edwin H. Gott, who waited with the Michipicoten until the arrival of the U.S. Coast Guard. The vessel made her way under her own power to Thunder Bay, Ontario, with escorts from the U.S. and Canadian Coast Guards. At the time, it was thought the vessel had struck an underwater object. However, there had been no evidence found to suggest such a collision. While in port, drivers inspected the hull and determined the likely cause may have been fatigue. Divers discovered a nearly 4-meter crack in the hull. A member of the Coast Guard stated it looks like a hull failure, which could be the result of stress, fatigue, and the age of the vessel. He said but cautioned that a full investigation is needed to determine the cause for certain. The exact cause of the damage remains unknown. The divers placed a temporary patch to the crack. On June 10, 2024, Michipicoten left Thunder Bay under her own power, bound for Fraser Shipyards in Superior, Wisconsin, where she currently is awaiting inspection and her future. She was escorted by the tug Helen H. And as always, I thank you for watching.